was a wrap. I was traveling every summer.
All right. So a lot of the viewers out there, Johnny, they're so excited to see you. They haven't seen you in a while, and you definitely inspire so many young athletes. So we're just so happy. So let's talk about a little bit about, we know, as you said before, you do both hurdles. You do the 110 hurdles and the 300-meter hurdles. So just tell us a little bit about your high school days, knowing that, you went to Clayton High School, and, you probably, not many athletes or not many other hurdlers was going to school with you at the time. So just tell us a little bit about your high school days, just running at Clayton, some of your best memories that you could remember.
Yeah, that's interesting because, Clayton is a very small town. So it's all about football and basketball and baseball. So when I came to the scene, I had this little freshman boy. He's running really fast, and people are like, "What is this?" And then we had an asphalt track, so we didn't have a rubber track yet. So we were training on asphalt, basically concrete. So the first 2 years of high school, it was kind of difficult because people didn't understand what track and field was. And I used to get bullied about being fast. It's kind of weird. But I remember being in school, one of my art class, I had a bully. He'd be like, "You think you're fast, huh? You're not faster than me." And he would just pick on me because I was fast. I thought that was just so funny when I look back on that. But yeah, it was just very foreign to people in my small town. And then by sophomore year, I had won like a 4th state championship or something like that. And so the next year they decided to redo our track, and we were one of the first tracks in the area that got a rubber track. And after that, the schools in the conference started to get rubber tracks. And so I guess I kind of am a part of that old school generation where I can say we ran on asphalt and concrete.
Okay.
So that's how high school started, asphalt, and then we progressed to the newer tracks.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So tell me a little bit about the hurdles. I mean, we know that in high school, many athletes are scared of the hurdles, and that's probably one of the event that you got to get some coaching. You can't just decide that you want to run hurdles because you're going to hit the ground. So how did you start doing the hurdles, and who was how did you get better learning your technique, and what did you do different while you was in high school to continue to get better at your technique?
Yeah, I think in anything, in any industry, you have to be a student of your craft. So, of course, I was competitive, but my coach at the time, I had 2 coaches in high school, Steve McGill and Aaron McDougall. They're dear to my heart because they were just great, just father figures and just examples all around. But they loved track and field so much to the point where they were like, "Dutch, you're great at hurdling, but you have to study it too." So my Steve McGill, he gave me a DVD. He made a DVD of all the old races from the 1960s, the 70s, and the 80s of Edwin Moses, Kevin Young, even 110 hurdlers like Ronaldo Nehemiah, and all the top guns in those decades. I would literally watch. I would have film days and just watch the technique of Edwin Moses, Kevin Young, Andre, all those people that have dominated the sport, Felix Sanchez. I would just continuously watch the DVD over and over and study their technique, their pattern, their steps, just the way they held themselves. And so that's something that really helped me kind of, I was rough around the edges when I first started, but it kind of helped mold me into who the hurdler I am today.
Okay. So when you start doing the hurdles, what were some of the areas that you was weak in, that you was like, I got to continue to work on this? Naturally, you are a right leg hurdler.
Yeah.
How did that all started? Because, that the left leg, sometimes it's easier to go around the track, but most of the time, your right leg hurdler, you could do the 110. So in terms of your hurdling, how did that started? What were your weakest areas when you first started out that you really got to spend more time working on?
That's a very good question. I I believe my trail leg was probably my weakest thing I had to work on. I had a really great lead leg. I could snap it down really quick, but for some odd reason, my trail leg will always just lag behind. I think I lacked abdominal strength growing up. And so that's something I worked on through the years is abdominal strength. And I think that's important for a lot of high schoolers because you don't really necessarily, especially as a hurdler, I can't speak for other runners, but as a hurdler in high school, you really don't need to mess with the weights until you get to high school or in college. And so in high school, I think technique and all those technical aspects are very important. You can mess with the weights and all that in college, but high school was all about stretching when I got home. I would do abs and stuff at night. And I think that helped me with my trail leg before college.
All right. So guys, you hear it. So if you were supposed to talk to some of the young athletes right now going to high school that thinking about doing the hurdles, you know, what advice would you share to someone that's trying to hurdles that's scared and worry about falling down or just, you know, they're scared of hurdling the hurdles?
I'd say if you're scared, don't do them. There can't be 1 ounce of fear going in. You have to be completely fearless as a hurdler. You have to go into it with the mindset of like a 7 or 8 year old that's just kind of oblivious, and you just have to go for it. That's hurdling. You know what I mean? Because they're in the 110 meter hurdles, they're 39 inches, and in the 400 meter hurdles, they're 36 inches, and they're pretty high for the average person. So I would just say you have to be very fearless. And it has to be kind of be second nature. You just have to have a screw missing a little bit to want to run around the track with 10 hurdles. You know, training is not fun, but you know, you have to just, you know, find something about that. Find something about the event that you like. You know, and use that to push you, you know.
All right. So let's talk about, so if you weren't doing the hurdles, what other sport do you think you would be doing? You would try to do if it wasn't for track.
I probably would either be playing, well, 3 things. Football, because I did try to play football, but it was just really hard training. I remember the coach, after a week of training, he set the team down, and I took it personally, but he said, if you want to be out here, you can be out here. If you want to go make pancakes with your mama, go make pancakes in the kitchen with your mama. I chose to make pancakes in the kitchen with my mama. And when I tell you, I made some good waffles and pancakes. You know what I mean?
All right.
So I did that, and I ended up choosing track. But I would say tennis and baseball. I was really, really good in baseball. And also tennis. I still play tennis to this day. So.
All right. So just move along and talk about you getting a track scholarship to go to college. Now, tell us a little bit about what were your goal in high school? What really did you want to accomplish in terms of your track and field career? I know for me, the number one goal for me was to go to college. I mean, you know, it was just a way for me to better my life. And I figure if I get a chance to go to college, and then if I get a scholarship, I know that, you know, I'll be eating good, you know, I'll be getting taken care of, and I don't have to worry about stuff. You know, I'll be having independent, I'll be on my own. Yeah. So let's talk about when it was time for you to go to college. Just tell us a little bit about where the schools were interested in you at the time that you could remember.
I would say unlike a lot of the younger kids today, they immediately think run fast, go pro right out of high school. I'm like, that don't happen for everybody. It happens for a very small percentage of people. But my focus was college. It was all about college, which college I was going to go to. And it was very overwhelming for me and my family because thank God I was able to go to anywhere I wanted to. I mean, I had letters, and I had handwritten letters from almost any college you can think of. I mean, University of Miami, West Point, UCLA. I mean, everybody in school would tell me where they thought I should go. But in my heart, I knew South Carolina was it because Coach Fry, he had been following my career since 8th grade. And he was very persistent, and he was very respectful too and professional. And I really admired that. And he knew what he has a long history in track and field. I mean, he's produced so many greats like Lashina Demas, Terrence Trammell, and the Barber Twins. The list goes on, Natasha Hastings. And so I was like, I want to be a part of that legacy. So that's what really, that was my biggest, one of my biggest reasons why I went to South Carolina, because they had such a rich history in their track and field program, especially their hurdling program. And then also they had my major. I was really looking at the top 3 schools were South Carolina, University of Tennessee, and University of Florida. Those are my 3 visits. And there was a few other schools, but those are the 3 visits I took. But out of all those schools, South Carolina had my major as well. So I knew that eventually track would die out and I would have to rely on other skills. So I knew that was important to not just, major in something that I know I'm not going to use later in life. So.
All right. Awesome. So if South Carolina did not, if you didn't go to South Carolina, what other school you think that would, who was the second choice? I'm funny to know who would be the second choice. That's
a good question. It was, even though I didn't go on the visit, I regret. I still to this day, I talk about it all the time. I regret not going on the visit. I really wanted to go to University of Southern California because I'm a film guy. So I knew that was kind of a given going to that school. I mean, it's in LA, South LA, and it's the perfect place. So Southern Cal was one of the top schools. UCLA was up there too. I was really big on going to Cali at one point. And then also Florida State. I was really huge on Florida State because they have a great film school. So, yeah, it could have been one of those.
Well, I know, maybe a couple coaches were watching right now. They'll be like, oh, man, what could I do? But, I think you did. Well, we know that you made a great choice. You really excel in college. So just tell us about your first year, just leaving home, moving to another state, and just going to college. What were some of the challenges that you faced, or what did you miss most about, the transition from high school going to college, or the transition was just easy for you?
I think the biggest challenge was the training regimen. In high school, you can kind of do what you want. You can train as many days or as less days as you want. You don't have to be as structured because you only have to be better than, everyone locally. And then at that point, you're good. So you don't have to go above and beyond in high school. You can kind of do the bare minimum.
There's something telling me to be a major film director, it will feel that much more special because of the journey.
In action.
It'll be 4 years next summer since the last Olympic trials. At this point, it's do or die.
Johnny's supposed to be a filmmaker. If you win an Olympic medal, you can win some money to help you with your filmmaking. There's no money out there. It's his choice. How do he want to separate it?
I always tell myself, I am the world champion. I am the best hurdler in the world.
Came out blasting randomly.
World's fastest this year, Johnny.
You're at the line at the World Championships. The only person that's going to be in your ear is you.